Okay. Welcome to our 6th episode of Waypoint Connect. How awesome is it to think that we already in the 6th episode, 5 episodes done. I was chatting to Devil just before, and it seems like the other day that we started recording this. And like he said, it's been months since we started planning this. So it's great to have you with us this afternoon. Episode 6, our theme for this afternoon is the best way to start your day. And for the first time ever, we've got a sponsor for this episode. And for our episode today, we've got The Cradle. The Cradle is a supplier of anything artistic, from ceramics and sculpture to sugar art and cake decorations. They do it all. The owner, Rochelle Higu, graduated with a visual art degree, majoring in sculpture in 2019. So thank you to The Cradle for sponsoring this episode and keeping us on the air. Now, the best way to start your day. For me, growing up, the best way to start your day, my mum made sure it was with a good breakfast. That's the one thing she taught us a lot of things, but that's the one thing, if it's about starting your day, that I grew up with, is breakfast is your most important meal of the day. Start your day with good breakfast. But lo and behold, here comes science, and they bring along something called intermittent fasting. And for some people, that means your last meal is at 6:30 in the evening, and your next meal is 2 o'clock the next day. So that means breakfast out the window. So what is the best way to start your day with? And just when you think you've got it right, science comes and turns that all upside down. Well, I want to bring you a different perspective. What if the best way to start your day is with Jesus? And I know what your first reaction would be. That's exactly why I don't want to do Christian, because for me, I connect that with stuff that I have to do, and I need to do this and I need to do that. And now it's starting my day with Jesus, which is just your way of saying to me, do Bible study first thing in the morning. But I want to take you back to last week's episode. If you haven't watched it, go back and watch it. JJ Johann made the important point that we read the Bible from a different perspective. Not because we feel obliged to, not because we think Jesus wants us to read the Bible, and if we don't read the Bible, we're not pleasing Him anymore. And that could mean that we fall out of favor with God, and when lightning strikes us, we know it's because we didn't read our Bible that day. It's from a completely different perspective. The perspective is that I've come to discover that Jesus gave His life for me, and the only way for me to respond to that is by giving my life to Him. The other point that he connected with was that why wouldn't I want to read the Bible? It shows me so much more of Jesus. And when I interact with people, I want to show Jesus to them. So the best way for me to discover what I need to show people is by learning more about Him from the Bible. So it comes from a completely different place. And that's what I want to talk to you about this afternoon as well. Start your day with Jesus, not from the perspective of, I need to tick a box, Jesus requires it from me, and if I don't, then I'm in trouble and I fall out of favor with Him. But from the perspective of, firstly, that's what He wants to do. He wants to start His day off with me. It's amazing if you think about it, that the Creator of the universe knows you personally, wants to have an intimate relationship with you, and His heart's desire is first thing in the morning to connect with you. He values it more than anything else. And He's there, ready for us. It's like my kids that I love a lot. And let's say we haven't seen each other for a while, and I'm expecting them. And I'm sitting there in the house waiting for them to come in. And they come in, walk right past me, go into the kitchen and make food. I'm like, what's happening? Well, that's kind of what happens when Jesus doesn't become our first thing in the morning. We walk right past Him and we get busy with the day. And we've got the intention of connecting with Him, but before we know it, we're off to school, either I'm going to school, I'm dropping the kids off at school, and work starts, and that email's there that I didn't want to get, and I have to respond, and there's a meeting that comes up, and I've got deadlines, feel no dues that need to go out, things like that. And then the next moment, I haven't spent time with Jesus. And so comes the end of the evening, the end of the day, I'm tired, I'm worn out, and it's like, man, let me just get into bed, and we kind of half spend some time with Jesus. So that's what I'm really talking about this afternoon. If we're honest, from what I've shared with you, our biggest reason for why we wouldn't want to do it is because we think we're too busy. And I'm going to qualify that statement of think I'm too busy so that it doesn't sound condescending. But I was connected to a person called Beverly Salee, and she spoke in front of a lot of people, and the one thing that she always got people with is, what if I shared a secret with you? What if I shared with you how you can have an extra hour a day? Imagine what you could do in that extra hour, starting your day off like that. And you know what she said? She said, I'm going to let you in on that secret. I'm going to tell you how you can get an extra hour a day. Get up an hour earlier. It really is that simple. We think we're too busy, we're already tired, but it really comes down to discipline. Valuing enough why you would want to do it, going to bed early enough the previous evening, and just getting up an hour earlier. Start your day off that way. Start your day with Jesus. Get focused, get centered around that. And I want to pause for a second here, because if you're not in a relationship with Jesus, this kind of takes you off the hook. You don't have to apply it from the perspective of starting my day with Jesus. For you, it would simply be starting your day in a way where you're ready for what's coming up for that day, what's happening in that day, so that it doesn't take you by surprise. But for us that are in a relationship with Jesus, we've got the extra benefit of not only pressing in the intimacy that's there, but we know that through the Holy Spirit, God reveals things to us. And if I spend time with my kids and they've got an appointment with one of their friends, something coming up, going to the movies, going out, just visiting them, and I know there's something that they need to know about this appointment that's coming up, I'm going to tell them, listen, be careful for this, watch out for that. What loving father wouldn't want to do that? And so it's the same with Jesus. When we bring our day before him, he's able to speak into our day, into our plan. And in a way, our plan starts becoming his plan, because he informs us in terms of what's happening. The same meetings might take place, but the focus might be on something different. And to be honest, I've experienced it because we're in a season with our community group of focusing, committing to each other to start our day with Jesus for the next 21 days. And I experienced that the very first day we started with this plan, where I started my day with God, and I was just reminded of something small but very important, something that informed a meeting later that day that was crucial. So why wouldn't we want to tap into that? But what I want to leave with you is it's not just about what we can get out of it, because then we simply do it for selfish reasons. So it's not just what we can get out of it, but it's also being able to grow in our relationship with Jesus. Something I've always said is, if we don't spend time in our relationships with the people that are important to us, those relationships won't grow. Just this morning, I looked at a TED talk about addiction, looking at addiction differently. And it was an amazing talk, and thank you, Yaku, for sharing that link and reminding me of that. What they found in the study was that the number one thing that helped people move out of addiction is relationships. So the biggest challenge isn't chemical hooks. The biggest challenge is real bonds that people have in the real world. And he described it, not your Facebook friends, not your Twitter followers, but real life people where you have textured and nuanced face-to-face relationships. Just love the way he explained it. We cannot grow relationships unless we spend face-to-face time with each other. And the same applies in our relationship with Jesus. And to be honest, the best time of the day, whether you're a morning person or not, the best, most productive time of the day is in the morning. When you've created space, when you created time for that, that's when you can really press in on that. And as we wrapping up, you're more than welcome to share on the comment section. It's great to see, Alta, that you've joined us, that Eskom hasn't prevented you from joining us. I know it's a struggle these days. Shani, always great to have you here. Rochelle, good that you're part of this episode. I want to take you to a person called John Wesley. John Wesley was one of the most influential preachers in England. And what was amazing was that he never missed one day starting his day with God. And when asked about that, and he wouldn't get up later than 5 o'clock to be able to spend that time with God. And when asked the question, well, what if you've got a really busy day that day? How does that impact your time? He says, those are the days that I make sure I don't miss that time with God. That would mean sometimes I would get up at 4 o'clock and even earlier to be able to spend that in preparation for the day. Because he understood that principle of not just doing it out of our own strength and our own insight, but tapping into what is freely available to us when we step into relationship with God. Being able to hear from Him, understand from Him. So that's what I want to leave you with this afternoon. Encourage you to look at your time management, your program, readjust, make some adjustments there that are for your benefit personally, but also for the benefit of your relationship with God. And what I like you to do is to connect with me and share stories of what you've experienced since you've applied this. We want to see lives changed because of it, but we want to have those stories shared. And that's why this cup that's sponsored by Godly, why we're so excited about Godly, because Godly, their slogan is His grace, your story. Godly's mission is to get people to share their stories of what God is doing in their lives. And in sharing your story, encouraging other people to do it. Because it's one thing if somebody like Elon Musk does it. Because some people do believe he's an alien. We're not going to go into that debate right now. But the guy's phenomenal and he does amazing things. And we often think, well, he can do it, but that doesn't mean I can do it. But when normal people do things and they share their struggles about that, then suddenly it becomes relatable. And then I see that I can do that as well. So we want to help you help other people by sharing your story. So get in touch, reach out, and we can have you share your story. And what we want to hear about today's topic is how your spending time with God has helped you and help you grow further in your relationship and be successful at life. So I hope that you enjoyed the time that you spent with us this afternoon, and I'm looking forward to seeing you next week. Next week we got a special topic coming up for you, and we'll talk about that with you in the coming weeks. So from our side, it was great. I want to close with a word from our sponsor again, and thanking them again for their sponsorship. The Cradle's mission is focused around a specific verse, Romans 8 verse 28. Those called according to His purpose. And that's why for them, they want to highlight the fact that we are called to serve where we are placed. And we're awesome, and it's awesome for us to be partnering with you So thank you very much, Gradle. And for you guys that are listening, have a great week, and I'll see you next week.